Asot Anthony Michael. Let's give him a huge round of applause as he prepares to share his manifesto.
Asot Michael, servant leader, want to love and raised up to care. Asot Michael is committed to serve, and he's the kind who has the time for every stranger in the ring, a servant leader.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Distinguished guests, members of the media, viewers on Facebook, listeners on the radio, citizens of Antigua and Barbuda, my dear beloved constituents of St. Peter. When I became the parliamentary representative of the constituency of St. Peter 18 years ago, a day like today was not in my mind. I was a proud citizen of Antigua and Barbuda, who had found meaning and purpose in political life as a member of the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party. My parents and grandparents were foundation pillars of the party, and I felt blessed to have the inscription of Labour in the blueprint of my genes. Never in my wildest dreams did it ever occur to me that one day I would stand in the stronghold of Labour to launch a manifesto, a social contract with my constituency as an independent candidate. But the injustice of betrayal is an unpredictable force against the human spirit, requiring us to act boldly and decisively in the interest of positive resolution. And this day that the Lord has made, so we can rejoice and be glad, I present in Manifesto 2023 a roadmap for citizenship as an antidote to injustice, dedicated to the memory of my late mother, Asot Michael. For she died with the fervent hope that injustice will not infect the politics of national development, and freedom will never weep, and there will be no sleeping in the wheels of progress and prosperity. That hope drives me forward today. Manifesto 2023 celebrates the special 18-year bond of love that I have been privileged to share with you, the people of St. Peter, as their parliamentary representative. And I thank you for these few moments to receive me. The few years, the 18 years into your homes and minds as our nation prepares to select its teams and leaders who will guide us through the challenges of uncertainties of our local, regional and international affairs. As I've said, I've been privileged in the past to be selected as a candidate of the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party over the last 18 years. And I've received your overwhelming support in each of the 4 general elections held during that time, but this time is different. I'm contesting the 2023 elections as an independent candidate. But this Manifesto 2023 celebrates the special 18-year bond of love. The love that I have been privileged to share with you, the people of St. Peter. But I have the right to represent you. I have the right to continue to represent them. And you have the right to have me to continue to represent you, if that's your desire. It's not for no one man, Gaston Brown, to dictate that I'm no longer suitable to be a member of the party that I brought him into, or to represent the people of St. Peter. That is for you, the people decide on election day. So I'm running as an independent so that the people of St. Peter, not Gaston Brown, will decide who will be their representative. I'm running as an independent to uphold the rights of all Antiguans and Barbudans to make their own choices according to the law, the Supreme Constitution of Antigua and Barbuda. I'm running as an independent to protect from the dictatorial impositions on their free will. So Manifesto 2023 details plans, programs, and key areas of focus for building a better St. Peter for all my constituents. It deals with renewal and growth of tourism, manufacturing, agriculture, energy, ICT, culture and sports, to create quality jobs and open doors for greater economic opportunities, a proper road network, adequate and reliable water supply, dependable electricity services, proper digital connectivity, renewable energy for homes, vehicles and businesses, quality, affordable health care that is so lacking in our constituency, properly equipped, safer schools for teachers and students, not where students are going into the schools and threatening teachers with knives and firearms and smoking marijuana right on the school compounds, where teachers no longer feel safe, where there are no cameras, where the players of secondary school is dilapidated, and the one in power is a burning shame, where the headmasters have to keep writing to me to ask the assistants to paint the buildings and put in windows. Meaningful participation of young people in wealth creation and national development, where we can bring back the land for youth and bring back the price at $1.50, not $4.50 per square foot, where they can afford to buy land in the country. Under Lester Bird and myself, when we initiated the land for youth, it was $1.50 per square foot and 5% deposit, not 10% deposit and $4.50 per square foot. How can you expect a young 18-year-old person, 19, 20 years old, to pay $4.50 for a plot of land, 10,000 square feet? Where does they get $45,000 to pay for this land? Greater citizenship engagement through local government. We must have parish councils where we decentralize government. We cannot continue on the government to do everything for us, to clean the sides of the roads and fix roads and debush and clear our castle trees and put up street lights. We must have parish councils where the parish councils can collect our taxes and fix our roads and put up street lights and debush and clear our environment and keep our villages in St. Peter's safe and clean. No longer should we have to beg any politician to clear our streets and sanitize our gutters and beg them to put a street light up. No longer should we have to go to APU and beg them to bring pipes and get some outrageous bills of $15,000 and $8,000 for pipes to bring pipe-borne water to your home. It's outrageous. APU is a monopoly and they have a legal fiduciary duty to bring pipes to your home, to your family. No longer should we have to pay for transformers to put on government lampposts to bring electricity when you get in your home. The late Celeste Bird, over 18 years ago, argued with Robin Haywood, Sir Robin Haywood, and told him that in cabinet over and over. We're not a big country like the United States, Canada, and Great Britain that have multiple utility companies. We have one utility company called APU, which is a monopoly, and you have a duty and obligation to your citizens to bring pipe-borne water, put the pipes in, put transformers on the lampposts. Nobody should have to pay for a lamppost. Of note, my dear ladies and gentlemen, we focus on making in this manifesto, Antigua's first port, Parham Harbour, the Northeast Service Centre for Tourism, especially ecotourism, this perfect complement to the existing north-south axis of Dickinson Bay to Falmouth on the west side of Antigua will provide a historic entry to Antigua for arriving yachts and sail cruise ships and a historic waterfront attraction for visitors. The Parham Harbour project, which no government has found funding since the mid-1990s, is being ignored again by the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party that boasts of unprecedented levels of investment in the last 8 years. Their architect impressions for the Parham Harbour on huge ABLP big billboards across the constituency, but not a single reference even to the pretty pictures in the party's 136-page election 2023 manifesto. No reference to the OAS study that was commissioned by Lester Bird in the late 1990s. Parham was our first town. It's the safest harbour. The historical buildings should be restored. The church, the Anglican church, that police station should have never been torn down. The post office, the first cinema, all of those historical buildings. And Gaston Brown promised me during opposition that that would be one of his top priority projects. And he came into government, and every cabinet I went and I pleaded, please at least put $1 million US of CIP money, or $2 million US. Comrade Melford Nicholas drove up there several times with me, and we went back to cabinet, and each time he shelved it and used the monies to do some other project. And this only means that notwithstanding election campaign promises to catch votes, the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party fully intends to continue to do nothing about developing a first-class tourist attraction and international business centre in Parham. So all those beautiful billboards you see about Business Hub is total nonsense to catch votes, because not one single word in the ABLP manifesto about it. And it is powerful evidence of the continuation of the victimization and neglect of the constituency, both by the UPP government from 2004 to 2014, when the UPP government sent home scores of workers from the port, from public works, and the ABLP government from 2014, which effectively made me an independent member of parliament since then. So when people ask me, what are you going to do as an independent candidate? I've been an independent candidate since 2004. And I want my dear people to ask yourself, what has the UPP done from 2004 to 2014? Which roads they've done? What infrastructure? What have they done for sports? What have they done for the clinics? What has the ABLP done for 56 years? 56 years! From Donald Shepard to Joseph Myers to Longford Jeremy and Asot Michael. What have they done? They've victimized the people of St. Peter. St. Peter was victimized and neglected both by the UPP, because it was a stronghold of the ABLP that the UPP could never win. And St. Peter was victimized and neglected by the ABLP because it was a stronghold of the ABLP that the ABLP could never lose. And that is the reality. That is the bare facts. That is the truth. And I pledge today, as your independent candidate, to find the money to get the Parham Harbour project done. Enough is enough. And not just for the people of St. Peter's, but for all of Antigua and Barbuda. For all of Antigua and Barbuda. Because it can rival Dockyard in English Harbour as a real tourist attraction for our people. That's a blessing. That is victory. That is victory. That is victory. And Manifesto 2023 also reviews my record of service as your parliamentary representative and my accomplishments in the governance of Antigua and Barbuda as a Minister of Government a young minister when Lester Bird brought me back from law school, lest me not forget. I was 27 years old when he took me out of University College of London and asked me to be his special administrative assistant. And then chief of staff, the youngest chief of staff to Lester Bird, worked 15 hours, 16 hours a day. And then he saw competence in me. He saw ability in me. At the risk of sounding modest, I worked harder than his elected members of parliament and his cabinet ministers. Why would Lester Bird, with all of his intellect, political acumen, experience, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Tourism, Economic Development, Investment, Energy, appoint a little 27-year-old, little descendant Arabic boy, although my grandfather was born in this country and I'm more black than them? Why would he give me so much power? Appoint me Chief of Staff, Leader of Government Business in the Senate, put me over all kind of people like Houghton Isaac, people double my age, triple my age, make me Minister of Public Works, made me Junior Minister first, and then we saw my ability and what I was doing in this country to transform the road network all over this country, appointed me full Minister of Public Works, Insurance, St. John Development, Communications. Why? Junior Minister of Finance. The only reason he could not make me full Minister of Finance when John St. Louis resigned and he said, you have headache, you have migraine, you can't pay civil servants no more. Nobody wanted to take it. None of the cabinet ministers wanted to take it, and I took it. I went to Scotiabank, flew up to Toronto, and the testimonials are there from Fons Derrick, the former financial secretary. We negotiated all of the loans, paid the Kuwaiti fund, paid civil servants, paid UE for our students to go back to school, paid off all the debts. Come on. The only reason Lester Bird could not appoint me as a full Minister of Finance because I was not elected. You forget they had a coup. They wanted to bring down Lester Bird government. I was so effective that prior to the 2004 elections, you had Sherfield Bowen, Longford Jeremy, the same Gaston Brown, and all of them went to Lester Bird and they said, you either make Asot Michael resign immediately or we'll bring you down as Prime Minister. And I had to resign in the interest. I didn't want them to bring down Lester. And it caused the Labour Party to lose the election in 2004. And Asot Michael ran for the first time and won his seat. So significantly, Manifesto 2023 features an explanation, I want to say this to you, of the betrayal and the dictatorial posturing of Prime Minister Gaston Brown as a platform for assessing his suitability to continue to serve as Prime Minister. But Gaston Brown betrayed me after I used my connections, my family resources, not just money, but my political capital that I had, because I was loved and I'm still loved in this Labour Party more than him. My political capital in the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party to make him leader of the party and Prime Minister over my own surrogate father, Lester Brian Bird. I took him all over the 17 constituencies, the Trades and Labour Union, the Barbuda delegates, the Women Action Group, the Youth Group, even brought Denzel Douglas to my home to lobby the delegates. He could have never won that second convention if it wasn't for my political capital. People like Margaret Rose, De Silva, all of them, Page, all the delegates said, Mr. Brown, we're not voting for you against Comrade Bird. They understand that the Birds in the Labour Party is an institution in and of itself. We lost the first convention to Lester Bird. The second one, we won. Because I questioned the wealth that he claims for himself since becoming Prime Minister, which he cannot explain by his legal income. He has sworn to destroy this humble servant and cancel me from the political life of Antigua and Barbuda. How can that be right? How? In our democracy, where we are all equal under the law, no one man has that authority. Indeed, in order to remove me as the ABLP candidate in St. Peter, Gaston Brown breached the Constitution and the rule of law in this country. He breached the Constitution of our own anti-Zimbabwe Labour Party Constitution. He violated the rule of law, and he knows it. And the court, the High Court, ruled against his illegal actions. Yet he proceeded in true dictatorial style to disregard the order of the court. He's in contempt of court, and to install his hand-picked choice, Warden Turner, as the ABLP candidate for St. Peter. And interesting enough, he never did nothing for Warden Turner. Never signed one duty for any of his heavy-duty equipment. I had to wait until he's out of the country to take them to Cutie Benjamin. The quarry that Warden Turner has up at Bethesda's, I fought to get it for him. 17 acres of land. And all of a sudden, Warden Turner is his blue-eyed boy. Warden Turner is my brother still. I have absolutely nothing to say bad about him. The young entrepreneur, a good architect, a good contractor. He comes from a decent family in Param. I'm not going to denigrate Warden Turner, but he has been taken in by Gaston Brown, who has promised him the public works and promised him that Lennox Weston is going to lose his seat. So he's going to build upon his quarry, his heavy-duty equipment, make him make millions of dollars, and he's going to be a multi-millionaire. And poor Warden, he doesn't know that the day after the election, that Gaston is going to cancel him from the political life of the Labour Party. But the truth of the matter is, the day after the election, me and Warden will still hug up. He's my blood brother. He ate at my table for years as my blood brother. And I hold absolutely no rancor, malice against Warden Turner. It is his constitutional right to want to run. There's nothing wrong with Warden wanting to run. It is any one of your constitutional rights. There's a process. There's a constitution that we all must abide by, that we've signed up to, that Labour Party constitution. And the process was not followed, where there must be a primary. Where there are more than two candidates, you must have a primary. And no political leader can overrule that. When I first went to run in Param, I had to face two primaries. Once against Lennox Weston in 2003, when we went down with the school, and I beat him like a damn road match. I got 980-something votes. 980-something votes, and Comrade Weston got 16. They take up the mic and buck up the mic and say, I bribe off all Param people. After I won in 2014, in 2015, my dear brother and Comrade Wesley James, who I went to school with, Wesley from Piers, he came and he challenged me. He's right to challenge me. And I bang him too. I think he must get 12 votes. Before my time, Longford Jeremy, Comrade Longford Jeremy had to face a primary. Comrade Jean Crump will tell you, against Talbot King. Lester Bird did not want Comrade Longford Jeremy. He wanted Talbot King. He thought it was more intellectual than Comrade Longford Jeremy. But he could not dictate for the people. The branch organizes a primary, and the people of the constituency decides. Max Fernandez had to face a primary against Captain Osmond Lake. Malvin Joseph years ago had to face a primary against Keith Ford, the former Attorney General. Bernard Percival against Mackley Matthias, who is deceased. So come on. So this squalid betrayal of a party colleague by a Prime Minister merits careful study and very serious consideration about the necessity of removing him from national leadership. Because the nation recalls that while I won the St. Peter seat for the ABLP in 2004, we lost the election in a landslide UPP victory after serving in government for 28 years, and our party spiraled to its lowest ebb. We were well and truly down for the count, with only 4 members in Parliament: Robin Yearwood, Steadroy Cutie Benjamin, Gaston Brown and Asot Michael. And the ABLP leader and Prime Minister Lester Bird had lost his seat in Parliament. It was obvious that the ABLP needed new leadership to regroup and to make its way back to government. I was 34 years old at the time, and my dear beloved friend and brother and Comrade Gaston Brown was 37. We stepped forward as the future of the party, the two of us, and we teamed up to fight fire and steel of the ABLP establishment and the communication heavyweights of the party to turn it upside down. We did every single thing to wrestle leadership from the once unstoppable Byrd dynasty. It was not easy. We had everybody against us. We had Max Hurst, we had Tanny Rose, we had Robin Yearwood, we had Malvin Joseph. Every single parliamentarian was just me and Gaston Brown. And Gaston says then our partnership was splendid. And after traversing the length and breadth of the country through a decade-long struggle to revive the party, we returned the government in 2014. The bid for leadership change in the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party succeeded on the second attempt after the general election of 2009, when Gaston Brown replaced my surrogate father, Lester Byrd. But it's widely acknowledged that nobody has put more personal resources and raised more funds for the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party than Asot Michael. And no politician has done more with his own money and his family's money for the people of Antigua and Barbuda than Asot Michael. None. Labour Party people also know and appreciate that without my political capital and resourcefulness at home and abroad, Gaston Brown would not have been Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda today. And he has said so publicly. He had said so on his Point FM. He had said so when I was 50 years old at the Bistro, in front of Prime Minister Mia Motley, in front of former Prime Minister Keith Mitchell, former Prime Minister Denzil Douglas. Harold Court was there. He has said so publicly that he would never be a political leader, never become Prime Minister if it was not for Asot Michael. Yet, his obsession is to take me down. But Dean Jones is former member of the United Progressive Party, who bitterly criticized the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, and he has been serving in the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party administration, where Gaston Brown says he was guilty of, and I quote, open disrespect, persistent violations, conflict as a result of numerous attempts to violate policies of the government as established by law, contracts negotiated without first getting approval of Cabinet and the Tenders Board, end of quote. That's what Gaston Brown said about his own minister, Dean Jonas. He's running him again. He's good, he's suitable. But in comparison about my work as government minister, Gaston Brown says, and I quote, when it comes to building relations and leveraging connections, Comrade Asot Michael is the absolute best. And clearly, Asot, you played a major role, not only in us regaining the governance of the country in 2014, but also as Minister of Tourism. And we know that you did a great job in order to revive that industry, end of quote. So while there's no place for me in an Antigua and Labour Party government where I have excelled in service to this country, Gaston Brown spends millions of dollars to keep a disrespectful, unproductive, law-breaking original UPP stalwart on the backs of the people of Antigua and Barbuda. He says, no, I'm funding the UPP. Total rubbish, propaganda. But look around all of the UPP people that he has empowered. Just look. Colin O'Neill, Winston Williams, Maurice Merchant, and all of them have high-paying jobs. And he has not even empowered one single ALP person. All of them. See how much money that the guy Winston Williams, who said, come out of that and come into this. Colin O'Neill, my dear beloved friend, getting 2 salaries, one from Point FM, one as a senator. I mean, come on. All UPP stalwarts he's empowered, and he has neglected his own Labour Party people. The hypocrisy on steroids is inimical to good governance and public service, with the hallmark of integrity. That's what I want to say to Gaston Brown today. In recent years, he has emerged as a clear and present danger to the governance of our country, describing himself as too creative to take public resources illegally. That's what he said at a public meeting. In other words, as Prime Minister and a person in public life, he's using creativity to take public resources legally. So how exactly does a Prime Minister creativity to take public resources legally serve the public interest? I would like to know that. Is it by acquiring 86 acres of public land for a multi-million-dollar farm with public infrastructure, utilities, ecosystem support? Did he pay for all of them street lights around his farm? Did he pay for the high-tension wires around his farm? Did he pay for the APUA pipes leading up to his farm? Did he? I'm asking the question. What is he doing for bona fide small farmers in Pierce Village and Parham and all over this country? What is he doing? What incentives? All of a sudden, you have family members out of the blue acquiring multi-billion-dollar properties, Barnacle Point and land up at Long Bay, and then you say people envy your son? Envy what? Nobody envy you. Pay the nurses, pay the policemen. Give them, look after the frontline workers. Come on. Deal with our frontline workers. Give them their raise. Give the public servants a decent raise in this country. Our nurses that work so hard, the EMS workers. Don't give them empty promises just at election time. What are you really doing for the teachers in this country that work so hard? That go away and they get their upgrade and they educate themselves. And for 2-3 years they're in the system and they get certified and you can't pay them. How do you think they feel? And they have to go and teach our kids every single day on that measly salary. Our nurses that have to expose themselves when COVID was there. And they work so hard and work around the clock. And up to now they can't get their overtime, their bonus, nothing. And the minister sits down in a beautiful big office with lovely big furniture, mahogany down in High Street. And when he drives in his car, he's reading a newspaper to the back. Like if you're some lord in England. By deceptive representation to claim public funds for assets. That is good governance. Huh? Gaston Brown disagreed with Prime Minister Mia Mottley, calling her an aristocrat, humiliating her. She's been voted the best Prime Minister in the whole region. Cursed Ralph Gonzalez, our senior statesman over Liat. It's his fault, Gaston Brown, that Liat is not flying today. Disrespected the Prime Ministers. I took them for dinner at Le Bistro. Prime Minister Mia Mottley, Keith Mitchell was there. Former Prime Minister Denzil Douglas, we also invited him. And, sorry, not Denzil, former Prime Minister Timothy Harris. And Robin here was trying to encourage them to put money into Liat. And Ralph Gonzalez said, you know, I'm a regionalist, Pan-Africanist Prime Minister. It's me who got Baldwin Spencer to put over $10 million into Liat and the other Prime Ministers. Robin, this is not about Liat no more. It's about your Prime Minister, Gaston. Until Antigua get rid of Gaston, we're not putting a single cent more into Liat. Keith Mitchell, he listened all night, eating his food. But former Prime Minister Keith Mitchell said, and I swear on my dead mother, I swear today, and I'm accustomed to swear, Keith Mitchell said, that crazy man. When he came down to Grenada for cricket meeting, we wanted to fire and discipline the former president, I forget his name, of the West Indies Cricket Board. They eventually fired him. They wanted to have an investigation into him. He and Gaston was very close. And all the prime ministers all agreed except Gaston. And Gaston get up in the CARICOM heads of meeting and put abuse him with bad words and all kind of nasty things and curse off Keith Mitchell. Get up and storm out of a CARICOM heads of meeting and get on a Liat plane and come back to Antigua. Keith Mitchell said, from that day, I realized something wrong with that man's head. Something wrong with that man's head. You know, you can't disrespect prime ministers like that. You may have disagreements. Of course, they're all human beings, but there's something called comity among prime ministers. You go in a caucus, you speak your differences, and you do it in a respectful way. You exchange ideas. You don't go in the media, the regional media, and get up on your radio station and curse them. What do you think? You think you don't point cursing the people in Booby Alley? No. He cursed them out in the most despicable manner. And it boggles the mind to think what you would have done to them, like me, had they questioned his unaccounted wealth since becoming Prime Minister. He might have thumped them down in the mouths too and in the faces. No Prime Minister behaves like that. V.C. Bird did not have his education, but V.C. Bird had class. Lester Bird had so much class. Lester Bird was a man of charisma and class. He was so magnetic that he attracted people to him. When he spoke, he made you feel proud. He was so humble. So humble. Baldwin Spencer. was a trade unionist, but a humble man. Baldwin Spencer never cursed people the way Gaston behaved. You can't use your radio station to go and curse ECAP directors and say, oh, they don't want to transfer the shares into ordinary shares and this and that. You're the Minister of Finance. Call a meeting with the Prime Ministers. You're a shareholder in the bank. You're probably the majority shareholder in ECAB. But don't go and curse the 4 directors and say all kind of ill about them. Come on. He also deprived public officers of their salaries and tear gas innocent citizens standing up for their human rights not to be vaccinated during COVID. He used his radio station and parliament to viciously criticize citizens who simply disagreed with him and exercised their constitutional right to dissent and not to be vaccinated. Now, I told him in parliament, I am for the vaccination. It's not what you say, it's how you do it. I tell him, be gentle. Take a page out of Mia Motley's book. Don't threaten civil servants and teachers and public servants. Say, if you don't get vaccinated, you must go home and I'm going to deduct 2 or 3 months out of your salary. Come on, man. It's their bodies. Encourage them. Do it in a lovely way. You're a statesman. If I say to you today, so if you don't vote for me, I'm going to do so and so to you. Well, yes? You will go home and say, who the hell Asot Michael think he is? I will fix him on election day. His crude, aggressive behavior is totally unbecoming of a Prime Minister. And the time has definitely come when the people of Antigua must decide whether that sort of vulgar conduct should represent them in the office of Prime Minister. I'm not running for the office of Prime Minister. And he has waged a vicious, nasty war against me. I thought that this election should be about the ABLP versus the UPP. Against Harold Lovell, I understand he's running for Prime Minister. And he, but the whole campaign is about Gaston Wong versus Asot Michael. So Manifesto 2023 highlights that over the past 18 years, I've articulated the needs of the various areas in my constituency. I want you all to read it. I've advocated, I've pleaded for public resources to address these needs. And wherever government failed to respond to the representation I provided for the constituency in the critical areas of basic needs, and I stood alone. I stood alone in finding non-government funds and even committing family resources to our detriment to do as much as I could for the good of all. As parliamentary representative of St. Peter's, my commitment to improving the quality of life for all the constituents is evident in the assistance that I have provided throughout the constituency. In education, I've sent scores of students overseas for my father's trust, full-time scholarships, scholarships that this government has turned down in the Board of Education and the Prime Minister's Scholarship Fund. Up to last evening, a young man came to my home and he has not received any monies from Morris Merchant for a year and a half. It's not right to have all these students overseas, put them in universities, approve their scholarships, and then you tell them the treasury have no money. Then don't approve them, don't send them. So I provided health care also. For 18 months, they couldn't find 8,000 US for reagents for that MRI. Can you imagine? For 18 months, I'm sure it was not even 8,000 US for the reagents. You know how many people from my constituency all across Antigua had to send down to Trinidad to do a simple MRI? And you were telling me we're a progressive country and talking about stem cell and kidney transplant, and now they want to do heart transplant and now brain transplant, and they can't get the basics right, not even to fix an MRI. I mean, the clinic in Parham don't even have proper strips. The strips, I asked April King for the diabetics. Come on. You open up clinics all over the country and they can't even fund the basic necessities to give the clinics. So what are all these big, beautiful clinics, polyclinics that the Chinese government give us, and they can't fund the basics? And you're talking about stem cell and kidney transplant. All that is very well. I'm not against it. But get the basics. When people go up to the emergency room, when people go up to Mount St. John to the emergency room, they have to wait 6, 8, 10 hours. And they're crying and bawling in pain in their stomach. Not right, the waiting time up there. So I've dealt with the livelihood, sustainability, and infrastructure in the absence of government support. Gaston Wong looked in my eyes last election, told me, I don't need roads. The people love me. I don't win the election. I said, love? They can't take love to the bank, Mr. Prime Minister. They can't take love. We have the worst roads in St. Peter's. You're going to the Painters, you're going to Lightfoot, you're going to Vernon's. It is deplorable. Some of the roads are craters. They're ponds, they're not roads. You have costly trees, is that a joke? People have to park their cars one end of the road to walk, even when it doesn't rain. How can that be right? And they pay taxes, they pay property taxes, they pay utilities, they pay statutory deductions. And I had to go into my pocket and spend over $4 million buying Orlean and stone. Ask Wesley James, ask him. And grading roads, I couldn't do all of them. It would cost me $100 million. But I did as much as I can. Bringing 800 street lights, higher heavy duty equipment, nearly every piece of grader and bulldozer and backhoe, and grade and clear down people's bushes, and I'm still doing it. Still doing it this election. I have 2 excavators, one from Mr. Tire Master's son, one from Echo. I bought a backhoe, and I had to hire another backhoe. And he have all that heavy duty equipment up at Parham, and he's not helping nobody. He has a full quarry that mines the stone, and he can't take some of the stone and show some goodwill and spread some stone on some of the roads? Come on. So, this time around, accustomed as I am of being independent, whichever party forms the government, I will strengthen and deepen positive engagement for fair allocation of public funds to development needs of the constituency. And my experience, skills and competencies will be fully utilized in working with our government, the private sector, our diaspora partners, friendly governments, and multilateral donor institutions to secure the necessary resources needed to move St. Peter forward. And so I want to say to you this morning that I still love and believe in the principles of labor, don't get me wrong. That country comes above self at all times, and that those in government make every decision and take every step for the furtherance and betterment of the average working man and woman, not personalities. And so the journey continues to love, to care, and to serve. Patience in trials and tribulations, constant in prayer. The words of the prophet Isaiah impel me forward. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They'll run and not go weary. They'll walk and not be faint. I want to say to you in closing, I cannot walk away from the genuine hand of friendship that you have extended to me. I shall forever be inspired by the outpouring of sympathy and the abundance of prayers offered up for me and my family during the recent passing of my dear mother, Her Excellency Ambassador Josette Michael. I am humbled by your appreciation of the record of service of my parents and grandparents to this country, and the high regard in which you hold of my efforts to improve the quality of life of the people of Antigua and Barbuda, and in particular, the residents of St. Peter. I want to say to you that when I visit your homes, when I listen to you, when I speak to you in person in my office or on the telephone or at my home, I feel your unwavering commitment, to the causes that need assistance. And I realize that I can be no less committed to you. As your independent member of parliament, free from the responsibility to toe any party line, I will stand with you. I will stand with you to work diligently for the government, for continuous improvements in the standard and quality of living, of your life, of your children unborn. I shall see this struggle throughout the end. I therefore humbly ask for your support on election day, January 18th, 2023. Your vote will secure loving, caring, tried, and trusted representation for the people of St. Peter in the Parliament of Antigua and Barbuda, from your chief servant of the people, by the people, for the people, of the people. Thank you, St. Peter. Thank you, Antigua and Barbuda. I love you. I love you. God bless you all.
The country needs a son in government. He's the man who loves you.
much. Thank you very much, Honorable Prime Minister. Asot truly cares for the people. Not just for the people of St. Peter's, but for the people of Antigua and Barbuda on a whole. Yes. Now, Mr. Michael is going to make the presentation to Ms. Jean Crump, and it's going to be an autographed document as he presents to her the very first manifesto for this political campaign 2023. Please join me in congratulating Ms. Jean Crump for being the stalwart supporter that she has been over the years for Mr. Michael and his family.